Zeus is remembered as the supreme power of Greek mythology, king of the gods, lord of thunder, the force that splits the sky with light. Nearly everything around him is framed to feel unquestionable. When Zeus enters a story, the world recoils, the gods submit, mortals fear, and even the heavens seem marked by his authority. But greatness is not the same thing as limitlessness. Zeus may stand at the center of order and still not be greater than everything that exists beyond it, and that is where his image becomes far more interesting. Not because someone drags him from the throne, and not because another god defeats him in battle, but because two goddesses reveal each in a different way, where his power actually ends. One belongs to a darkness that even lightning cannot possess. The other is tied to the very possibility of a power that might have replaced him. Nyx and Athena do not diminish Zeus. They define his scale, and even the king of the gods becomes more compelling once the borders of his power begin to show. If we are going to understand Nyx properly, it is better to set aside the familiar episode of Hypnos putting Zeus to sleep. That moment is real, but it is not the point. Nyx is not important because Zeus can be touched through one isolated event. She is important because of what she represents at a deeper level. Nyx is night itself, and night does not need to overpower lightning in order to reveal its limits. Lightning can tear through the sky, seize the eye, and announce itself with violence, but it never stops being a brief eruption inside something greater than itself. The flash does not replace the darkness around it. It only appears within it for a moment. That is why Nyx does not need to oppose Zeus like a rival rising against a king. She is not another power trying to take his place. She is the vast condition in which even his most iconic force is forced to exist. Her power is not the power of collision. It is the power of depth, enclosure, and permanence. Zeus may command the flash, but Nyx remains the night that receives it, outlasts it, and can never truly be possessed by it. The clearest symbol of Zeus is the violence of lightning. It is the instant when the sky breaks open, when everything is seized by a sudden brightness, and his presence seems total. But lightning depends on the instant. Its force lies in interruption. It invades the darkness, wounds it, and for a brief moment commands all attention. That is why it feels so overwhelming. And yet the night does not stop being night because of it. Even in a storm filled with flashes, thunder, and rupture, the scene still belongs to darkness. Lightning does not replace the night, it only tears through it for a moment. And that changes everything. Zeus can impose shock, he can dominate the eye, he can turn the heavens into spectacle. But Nyx remains what was there before the flash, what surrounds it while it burns, and what remains after it is gone. She does not need to defeat Zeus because his own symbol already reveals her scale. His light appears inside her. Zeus is eruption. Nyx is what receives that eruption without ever ceasing to be itself. If Nyx reveals Zeus's cosmic limit, Athena reveals something far more delicate, the limit of succession. Athena does not come from an ordinary lineage. Before her, there is already a prophecy surrounding Metis, a prophecy that points not only to extraordinary children, but to the possibility that Zeus himself might one day be surpassed. That means the threat of rupture is already present at her origin. Within that line exists the idea that Olympus is not necessarily final, and that the ruler at its center may not remain there forever. Zeus recognizes the danger immediately, and as he always does when faced with the possibility of being displaced, he acts to bring that future under his own control. He absorbs, contains, and prevents the prophecy from unfolding beyond his reach. But Athena is stillborn, and that is the crucial point. She is not only the daughter of the king of the gods, she also carries the shadow of the line from which his possible replacement could have emerged. She enters the myth not merely as a continuation of Zeus's authority, but beside the fracture that authority was trying to prevent. That is what makes Athena so singular. With her, Zeus is not facing a foreign enemy. He is forced to look into the structure of his own order and see from within it the possibility of something greater. And yet Athena does not follow the path of rupture. This is precisely where her strength becomes more interesting. It would be easy to read her as the unrealized possibility, the daughter tied to a line that might have surpassed Zeus, but who ultimately remained beneath him. But that reading is too shallow. Athena does not seem lesser because she refuses to destroy the order. She seems more lucid. She is bound to intelligence, strategy, prudence, and the rare ability to understand not just what power is, But what makes power sustainable? That may be why she does not move to break the throne, not because she lacks the force to do so, and not because she submits blindly, but because she understands that undoing an order is not the same thing as improving it. Athena represents the most refined form of strength within Olympus. She could have extended the cycle that defines so many divine successions. Another overthrow, another fracture, another generation replacing the last through violence. Instead, she takes on a different role. Rather than tearing the structure down, she becomes one of the great intelligences that keep it standing. That makes her rarer than a rival. She is the power that could have redrawn the order, but chooses to preserve it because she sees more clearly than anyone what chaos would cost. In the end, Nyx and Athena reveal two different boundaries of Zeus's power. Nyx reveals the outer boundary. She reminds us that lightning, however magnificent, still appears within something older, wider and more enduring than itself. Zeus may cut across the sky with light, but he does not turn night into day. He does not possess darkness. He only wounds it briefly. Athena reveals the inner boundary. She reminds us that Zeus's order is not some sealed and inevitable final form. It could have been crossed by another continuity, another logic, another kind of power. And the fact that this never happens does not make Athena smaller. It makes her more significant. The intelligence capable of reshaping the order chooses instead to sustain it. That is why Nyx and Athena do not weaken Zeus. They give him contour. Nyx shows that something greater exists beyond the brilliance of his power. Athena shows that his power endures only because the force capable of redirecting its future chose not to do so. One encloses him from outside, the other defines him from within. So perhaps the most interesting reading of Zeus is not that of a ruler without limits, but that of a ruler whose true scale only becomes visible once the edges of his domain come into view. The gods may become most interesting precisely when their limits begin to appear. If you enjoyed this kind of approach, subscribe to the channel to follow the next videos. The goal here is to keep exploring mythology, symbols, and the ways ancient peoples tried to make the invisible more understandable.